when you were director of national intelligence, did you see any direct evidence of collusion between General Flynn or any Trump campaign official with the Russians?
No, I did not. Of course, collusion is not a formally defined term, certainly in a legal sense. But if you read the intelligence community assessment, particularly the highly classified version, and as well as the unclassified version, you won't find the C word anywhere in that report.
Does the absence of evidence of collusion indicate to you that no requests for unmasking should have happened? If you had seen no evidence of collusion there, why ask for names like this in the intelligence reports?
Well, there could have been, as I say, other reasons why you would unmask. Again, when you read the bald read of the report, may not tell you what exactly is going on. So whether it was collusion or what you're trying to determine, does this pose a threat to a national security?
The DNI Clapper, who goes on CNN.
That's right. This is the guy that was at the top of the intelligence community. And I remember interacting with this guy when I was just a young buck. And it was the same thing then.
Leave the folder there.
And they've elevated him to being some kind of intel wizard. No, the guy's just been around forever. This is not somebody that you want to go to for astute analysis of anything. And notice how even at this stage, you'll get the same thing. Even at this stage, you'll have people who will say, well, there could have been, or maybe we would have found, or no, there was nothing. They were all wrong. How were they all so wrong on this? How did we end up talking about Russia collusion that didn't happen for 3 years? This was the biggest story of the Trump administration until a global pandemic came along. Now, of course, they want to pretend like no one should even think about it. No one should even talk about it. But that's absurd. Look, I don't want to get too much more into the unmasking situation. I would just say this for right now. If it's no big deal, why did they not want us to know? And now that we know, what are we supposed to do with this knowledge? How are we supposed to act given that it's clear there was political targeting of the people around Trump, and notably General Flynn, but who knows what other political targeting was going on with this kind of process, too. I think there should be even more declassification. I think we should see, I want to see what these reports were, that they were, they can redact them as necessary, but we should see what's the content here that they were unmasking. Now, they'll never do this because of the sensitivities, but that would really let us know. Then you'd really get the answers if you could see, oh, yeah, they really needed to know who this was. First of all, they couldn't basically figure it out. And second of all, why do you not have any expectation of privacy if you speak to somebody who happens to be a foreigner? Can they just listen in on phone calls and you no longer have any? Sorry, the national security impetus, the national security desire overrides whatever constitutional protection you have? Apparently the answer is yes. It's not okay, folks. It's not okay. You can't trust these statist libs. That's the problem. They don't operate in good faith. A lot of our law is set up in a way, and in a sense, I think this is it's actually a very important reminder for all of us. And I wanted to take just a pause to say this much about it. The Flynn case is the reminder that all of our laws and our system, look, they require faithful execution and basic decency, or else nobody's safe and no right is secure. Anyone can be investigated or prosecuted if officials make decisions, and those officials are stupid, vicious, and motivated by left-wing ideology. Anyone could be subjected to this. And if you think, and here's my brilliant transition, if you think that the courts will save you, you're wrong. There are deep staters wearing robes, just like there are deep staters at the top of the intelligence community, the top of the FBI bureaucracy. Here, I bring you the latest in the judge. Remember, this is all now related to Michael Flynn. The Judge Sullivan prosecution or what they're doing with the prosecution of Michael Flynn, which really now is completely in the hands of this judge, Judge Emmett Sullivan, who had an outburst that he ended up apologizing for. I mean, he lost it in court and started talking about Flynn betraying his country. Sullivan never even stopped to think who Flynn was betraying the country on behalf of. Is it Turkey? Is it Russia? Is it someone else? Didn't matter. It was just too enticing a storyline that Flynn was somehow a traitor. So that the people that bought into this never stopped to dig into the details. But here you have General Flynn no longer facing the DOJ actively prosecuting him. And this was the big news last week. And I was saying to you, and you know this, I was saying, well, we got to see what the judge does, though. I was a little worried about this. I was concerned about this. It's not over till the Zoftic female vocalist engages in singing. That's where we are. And there's no singing right now because Judge Sullivan has requested an amicus brief from a retired Clinton appointee named John Gleeson, a retired federal judge, to provide the court with the reasoning, with reasons why the Flynn prosecution should continue, effectively why Flynn should be sentenced and continue to be found guilty, even though the DOJ has said this case never. What the DOJ has said is that this case now never should have been brought. This never should have happened. Can you imagine? How is this any different from, say, if there was, DNA evidence that truly exonerates somebody, not that they make believe it does, which does. There's some DNA stuff that we could talk about another time where, okay, I mean, they think that this, anyway, I don't know. I haven't seen Making a Murderer. I want to check that one out for sure. I think those guys were guilty, but that's just my gut instinct. I've seen a few of the episodes. Haven't seen all of it. That's what I was thinking with the DNA stuff. I was like, it's not always. But imagine that there was clear-cut, and this does happen. There's clear-cut evidence of DNA that exonerates somebody, and the judge was just like, nah, we're still going to hold you in prison. You're not getting out. And even the prosecutors, that's really the way to line this up. Even the prosecutors, like, look, we're really sorry. This guy was exonerated. We never should have brought this. That is what has happened here. The Department of Justice has said, we're dropping this. This never should have gone down. And the judge is like, yeah, I don't know about that. I think I'm going to carry this thing through. So he brings on this Clinton judge, John Gleeson, to file an amicus brief to outline why the charges should not be dropped, and also to put forward an argument for how to prosecute Flynn for perjury. Here's what the judge's order says. The court exercises its inherent authority to appoint the Honorable John Gleeson as amicus curiae to present arguments in opposition to the government's motion to dismiss. It is so ordered that amicus curiae shall address whether the court should issue an order to show cause why Flynn should not be held in criminal contempt for perjury. What the heck is this? It's this judge's call. And yes, the judge does have a right to do this. This is also a reminder, my friends, judges are supposed to be referees. They have a ton of authority in that courtroom. You know that a judge can. They don't usually do this. Very few people generally know this. A judge can set aside a jury verdict. It is within a judge's power when a jury says guilty. A judge can say, yeah, thanks. Going to let this person go. Going to set aside that verdict. You're free to leave. Judge can do that. Their power is tremendous. It's also why, it's really the concentration of state power in that courtroom, which is why even if you mouth off to a judge, not a lot of people you can mouth off to who can say, you know what, you're going to go spend a few days in prison for that one. Judges can do that. They have a lot of authority in that courtroom. And, the reality here is that I think they're going to force Trump to pardon Flynn. That's the way that the deep state is going to get back at this guy. He didn't even do anything. I mean, now it's clear the guy didn't do anything. He didn't lie. He didn't do anything. He's like having conversations with people all the time, and he, misremembered what he said to the ambassador about something, or like misremembered if he talked to him about it. It doesn't even matter. If you say, oh, Buck, he lied, the FBI agents interviewing him who had the transcripts, they didn't think he lied at first, so how clear was the lie? But, oh no, and Andy McCabe lied twice, FBI director, but they're not going to prosecute him. Why? Just because the bureaucrat establishment likes him, because he's one of these little government stooges who was always first and foremost about the permanent governing class. It wasn't really about what was ethical or what was right. It was about making sure the machine continues to be in charge. This should be troubling for all of us now as we see across the country how badly the government machine wants to continue to be in charge. They do not want to give this up. They do not want to relinquish any of the power that they have taken into their hands. And we should have seen this coming. I was warning about it. I've been warning about it for a long time. You can just go back in my Twitter feed if you want to see. I said, 6 weeks ago now, we'll go from panic demanding government action to the recognition that the government is inept and stupid, which is where we pretty much are, to the government wielding even more power to tell us to shut up and do as we're told once we've realized they're stupid and they've taken too much power into their hands. That's where we are. And this was the expected trajectory of what would happen in response to this. But anyway, with Judge Sullivan here, they're going to force Trump to pardon Flynn. And then they're going to say this was all political. So this is just all about sullying his reputation at this point and giving the left-wing loon Democrats one last chance to frame this issue against Flynn in a way where he looks like a bad guy. He looks like he did something wrong, even though we know he did nothing wrong. I feel badly. I mean, that Flynn has been dragged through so much at this point. It must be horrible. Can you imagine? Your life savings drained, fired from your wife. The guy got to be national security advisor, supposed to be the pinnacle of his career. And he's fired before he even starts the job over over nothing. I mean, he's got an ego, and he's a human being with feelings too, and aspirations and goals. They did this to this guy over what? And Samantha Power and Obama and Biden, these people, they're all so in love with themselves, and they're just disgraceful. They lack decency and think that they're superior. That's what's really troubling. You see this with all the Obama administration officials. That's the constant, right? They're vicious, petty little tyrants. Whenever you give them any power, whenever they can have the media, they can sick the media on somebody or attack somebody or destroy them. And never any grace, never any forgiveness, never any sense whatsoever that they're going to rise above and treat people that disagree with them or that see things differently than them with any respect. They don't do that. That was really a defining characteristic of the people in the Obama White House around him. I mean, that was, and Obama himself always viewed the other side with disdain, always. So why is it surprising at all that they would abuse the powers they had in this way? It's not surprising. If anything, it's just a shame that it took us so long to get this proof.
Maybe it's the opinion of politicians that these protesters are just violent racists, but the Michigan state legislature has actually filed a lawsuit against you, claiming that your state of emergency extension to May 28th is unlawful. Since they did not approve it, are you acting beyond your authority here? And do you understand why there are so many concerned citizens about government overreach at this point?
Of course. And you know what? I think that is a robust debate that we should absolutely have. The fact of the matter is, every decision that I've made has been on the right side of the Constitution and always centered by epidemiology, facts, and science, and to save lives.
Do you believe her? I don't. I would love to hear from some more of Team Buck Michigan. Let me know what you think about what's going on in your home state here. But that's Governor Whitmer, who there's a very fundamental point here about a temporary state of emergency versus an open-ended state of emergency, right? And we all understand this, and there's some gray area here in the law, but everyone also in principle recognizes that it's one thing. Here's the perfect example: cops run up to your front door, bang on your front door, say, "Hey, look. We think there's a gas leak down the street. We need everybody out for a few hours while we check it out." Are you going to say, "No, you don't have a warrant"? Probably not, right? You're going to say, oh, whoa, okay, yeah, thank you, officer, and you're going to take your family out. That's a state of emergency situation. Cops run to your door, different situation. Bang, bang, bang. I mean, with not guns, obviously, with their hand on the. That was a bad. Bang, bang, bang is not what you want to hear from cops. Knock, knock, knock. Thank you. That's knock, knock, knock was the onomatopoeia that I was looking for. Fun word to say. Producer Mark, that's the word of the day today. Onomatopoeia.
I used to know how to spell it.
Yeah. But you hear that knock at the door and you go to it and they say, hey, we're really worried about a gas leak in the area. So we're going to need you to clear out of your house for a month or so, and we'll call you and we'll let you know maybe when you can go back. It might be a few months, we're not sure, but you have to get out now. Okay, you might say, Buck, you know what? I'm going to leave that house for a little bit, but all right, what happens when you call the, let's say you go stay at your Aunt Ethel's, the famous Buck Sexton show, Aunt Ethel. I don't have one, but that's the aunt we always talk about. And you call the city, you call the city health department or the police department, what you'd call. You say, okay, can I go back to my house? No, sorry. No, that emergency about the gas leak, we're going to keep extending that one. We're going to push that one a little bit more. And then you do it for more weeks and then for more weeks. At what point have they exceeded their legal authority, right? At what point is there no longer a state ability to tell you, sorry, your home is not your home, your stuff is not your stuff, and you have no rights? That's what we're up against. I mean, I know maybe I got a little too deep into the analogy here, but that's where we are. That's what's happening in these different states. A state of emergency, and this is also the whole mentality, the whole problem now is that we were told 15 days to flatten the curve, slow the spread to flatten the curve, right? These are really related concepts. Okay, well, we went along with this in good faith. And I think that that's still, under the circumstances, was a decision that's defensible, right? That we all had to just sort of get ready and understand what's going on. We all needed to see what's going on and to prep and get facilities in place and have a national focus on it. But it was a little bit like a storm is coming. Everybody has to clear out of this area. Once the storm hits, we'll come back and we'll rebuild. But everyone knows that that it's limited in time and scope, limited in duration, and clear limitations. What is this? Can't leave your house? Can't go see people? Got to wear... We're going to talk more about the mask thing. There's a protest happening. Look, I understand why people are doing open carry at some of these Michigan protests, but, it does, for the national level messaging, it results in all that gets focused on by the lib media. And look, I'm just talking about what's more effective messaging, folks, okay? I'm not saying that I don't understand why people want to enjoy their Second Amendment rights and want to remind the tyrants that they will not be able to just endlessly do whatever they want to people. I get that. I just hope that these protests don't. What would be the best thing for the lib authoritarians? If something ugly happens at one of these protests, that's what the authoritarians want. Oh, team, I just saw this. So, we have this whistleblower, they're calling him, a whistleblower named Dr. Bright, who is testifying today, and he is telling us we have the world's greatest scientists. Let us lead. Let us speak without fear of retribution. Oh, boy. The part of the problem we have here, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on with the scientific community. Somehow the people that speak out on behalf of science are all like leftists. Why not all scientists are leftists, but the people that are always listen to the scientists, they're all libs. This was congressional testimony from this guy, Dr. Rick Bright, the ousted vaccine chief. That's what they're calling him. And he's now getting his moment of trash Trump fame. Right, Trump is doing a bad job and all this other stuff. The Donald has already responded to him. I don't know the so-called whistleblower Rick Bright. Never met him or even heard of him. But to me, he's a disgruntled employee, not liked or respected by people I spoke to, and who, with his attitude, should no longer be working for our government. Yeah, that sounds about right. Here is what the Department of Health and Human Services, where he used to work, they released a statement. HHS put out a press release on this guy. This guy's being treated as a hero today. Oh, he's amazing. Here's what they're saying about him. Rick Bright This is from the Department of Health and Human Services publicly. Rick Bright was transferred from his role as BARDA director to lead a bold new $1 billion testing program at NIH, critical to saving lives and reopening America. Mr. Bright has not yet shown up for work, but continues to collect his $285,000 salary while using his taxpayer-funded medical leave to work with partisan attorneys who are politicizing the response to COVID-19. His whistleblower complaint is filled with one-sided arguments and misinformation. HHS is reviewing the complaint and strongly disagrees with the allegations and characterizations made by Rick Bright. Ouch. Ouch. HHS is having none of it from this guy. Now, I would like to just come out right now and say, there's going to be, no matter what Trump does, we've all known all along that they're going to blame him for everything. And they're going to be doing this. It doesn't matter. If Trump said, I now give up my position as leader of this response, King Fauci will make all of our choices about how to deal with the virus. King Fauci now has my proxy. They would still find ways to blame him for everything that's going on. And one of the things that came up today during this testimony is that they're saying that there are thousands and thousands of people who have died because of Trump. And because he won't listen to the scientists. That's the other thing they'll say, because he won't listen to scientists. Play clip 10 here, Mark.
First of all, I want to say we need more of a national strategy. Right where I live, Toledo, Ohio's border is half an hour away. We don't have it. The virus doesn't know, oops, these rules here, these rules there, or a person doesn't. We need to have a more national, regional strategy. And I wish he would stop denouncing scientists for giving us facts and work with us to have a plan that takes these facts into account. And how do we do things safely? That's what we need.
Do science in facts. Come on. She's Ohio. She's not a Youper from Michigan. She's Ohio, but she's science in facts. People that know nothing about, forget about knowing nothing about science, actually. There are so many who have no intellectual curiosity, no reservoir nor thirst for knowledge, who just love to lecture everybody about, listen to the scientists. Well, that's because then the next line is always what we hear here from Elizabeth Warren, for example, who's just saying, you didn't listen to scientists, so that's why everyone's dying. Here's Elizabeth Warren doing what we knew she would do. Play 4.
The president needs to stop pretending that if he just ignores bad news, it will go away. It won't. The time for magical thinking is over here. President Trump must acknowledge that the federal response has been insufficient and that more people are dying as a result. We are running out of time to save lives, and we need to act now. So thank you, Dr. Fauci, for all you're doing. I appreciate it, but the urgency of the moment could not be clearer.
You notice there's so much incoherence with all of this. Running out of time to save lives. We've been told now that we've lost 80,000 lives already. So, and we're doing the lockdown. We're doing we have done what the scientists, what the experts told us to do for 2 months. We've lost 80,000 people. And now when we want to try to do something else, it's you want people to die. Notice that we don't blame the lockdown people for the 80,000 deaths that have happened from COVID-19, although you could start to make a case about in certain areas, was that the most effective? Forget about the most effective strategy. Did people die because of the stupidity of the across-the-board lockdown? You could ask that question. It's a real question worth asking. Meaning, instead of focusing on protecting people in nursing homes, acting like everybody's at equal risk from this thing, was that intelligent? Was that the smartest thing to do? Or did people die because of that decision? In New York, it almost looks like people certainly died because of the Governor Cuomo order given that even if they think somebody coming out of a nursing home has COVID-19, coming out of a hospital has COVID-19, they should be taken in by the nursing home. Oh, and also there's a rule that was people have figured out now that nursing homes have no liability for this now. So nursing homes were told, take people, but don't worry, you can't get sued if everybody gets COVID-19 and 50, 100 people die because you took somebody in from a hospital that you knew had COVID-19 in the highest risk population you could possibly find of older people. So we need to have these discussions right now about how right have the scientists been, how correct have their prognostications been up to this point. And this is where I just have to say, they keep telling us to listen to them. You have this whole debate now over masks. L.A. sent out a note to its residents. Los Angeles is now telling everybody you have to wear a mask if you leave your house, period. That's their guide. If you leave your house, wear a mask. This is nuts. If you leave your house, wear a mask. The risk of getting this virus or giving this virus to somebody in open air is almost zero. And if we're going to if we're going to destroy people's freedom because of minute risk, if we're going to eradicate reason, rational thought, sanity in how we approach risk in our day-to-day lives, we have been inherently been transformed into a turnkey totalitarian society. There is nothing. This is why the libs love climate change so much, because climate change is existential for the world. Everyone's life is at stake. So you better recycle and take that bicycle to work instead of the car and drive a Prius instead of a car that doesn't look like, somebody fell asleep at the design table. That's what it is. They can control every aspect of your life. Well, now with COVID, now they really can control every aspect of your life, because it's not saving lives 100 years from now. It's saving lives right now. Yeah, these people are scary. And I'm going to ask you this because I've started to see some analyses popping around about, was the lockdown effective? We were told lockdown's effective. I've read through histories of the Spanish influenza of 1918. They did a whole bunch of lockdowns. Did nothing. They were locked. Some places locked down and got decimated. Some places didn't lock down and get decimated. And some places were fine with a lockdown or without a lockdown. I mean, it really, you look at this. When I say fine, I mean, they were hit far less badly. And this is true about countries right now. Japan didn't have a lockdown. Why does Japan have basically no problem with this? They didn't shut down all their businesses. They were early on this and identifying it and trying to prepare for it in some ways. But there are so many factors here: climate, average health of the citizens, population density. There are all these things that we know affect the spread of this, the severity of it, average age of the population. Why have countries that have been exposed to this? Here's a question I haven't seen anybody able to really answer yet. Why hasn't Africa been hit really badly by this disease? They have cases of it. You want to say, oh, Buck, they don't have population density? Really? Go hang out in Lagos or Abuja, Nigeria for a while and tell me about population density. They have incredibly dense environments with very poor public health systems. Why haven't? Now, I am posing questions that I don't have answers to. I'm not an expert. But for people to pretend that the experts who are saying lockdown, lockdown, lockdown know what they're talking about, if they knew, if they weren't just theorizing, if they knew, they would be able to explain this in a way that you would sit there and say, or I would sit there and say, okay, that makes sense. They can't. They can't. There are some countries that have been hit very, 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 very badly by this, and other countries that seem to be just about okay. Climate certainly plays a role, not climate change climate, but actual like hot, cold, day to day, certainly plays a role in this. Everyone who's been pointing to Australia, the outbreak started during Australia's summer. So that makes things a whole lot better for them. Started during our flu season, our winter. One of the reasons we got hit so badly. I'd be very curious to see, I know they have all these stringent measures in place now, but we'll see if Australia has, hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see if Australia has a more difficult outbreak now that the weather turns in the southern hemisphere. So, but they can't answer these questions for you. They don't know why it is so bad in some places and not. Brazil has not been hit that badly with this. So someone explain to me why we must take it on faith that the lockdowns that are destroying the economy and ruining lives are even a good idea. Now, put aside necessary, that these are even intelligent things to do. Hand washing, I'm down. Masks in certain circumstances, sure, it's not that big an imposition. Mask all the time, no. Protect vulnerable populations, yes. Try to be in less super dense environments, sure. Can't go and operate your business? Can't cut hair? Why? Can't sell flowers, can't sell clothing. You can't engage in what, doctors have to shut down their offices if they're not dealing with COVID-19 patients. Whose idea was this again? This is what our public health community comes up with? Ask this question too. Notice how we look at this and we're supposed to be able to be presented with data because these are scientists. We're supposed to be able to say, show me why this was a good idea. And they turn around, they yell at you and say, be quiet, peasant. You don't have the same background that we do on this issue. Oh, the old appeal to authority routine, huh? I don't think that's going to work all that much longer. And now, of course, there's they want to politicize this and they want to stay locked down until November if they can, or at least as close to it as possible. They want to make sure that people are fed and that there's money flowing through the system because it creates a dependency on government that they know they'll be able to exploit for generations to come. And then beyond that, once Biden comes in, look at what happened with Obama. Obama takes over, and all he has to do is essentially be president. And the cyclical recession, the Bush administration did the bailouts. The Bush administration saved the banks from failing. Obama just had to be there, and he came in at the worst possible time. And over time, it was slow. It was it was a poor recovery. But yeah, the upswing was going to happen. So he was always able to say, well, when I came in, things were terrible, right? Which meant, yeah, things are going to get a little bit better than where they are. So when Biden comes in, what they want is the same effect. We'll say this guy's a moron and his policies are terrible. And they'll say, aren't things getting better now? And we'll say, but hold on, but the economy, you kept the economy shut down for months and months. And that'll just be, that doesn't matter. It's getting better. Look at the numbers now. Biden's improving things. It's not just narrative creation. Narrative creation leads to reality creation when you're talking about government, media perception. This is power. This isn't just what people say. This is what people think. And what people think leads to what they do and how they can be controlled. Those are the stakes right now as we're trying to figure out how to reopen this country. And the people that are trying to shut this thing down are playing hardball. I mean, keep it shut down.
There's a statute. There's a 1947 statute that says Nancy Pelosi would yield all of the powers of the presidency if the president and the vice president could not. Consistent with the law, she could issue whatever executive order she wanted, fire disfavored political appointees, and in general, direct the executive branch as she pleased. She's third in line.
It's never going to happen. We'll keep our vice president very healthy, and I'll stay healthy. Never going to happen. She would be a disaster. Look, Nancy Pelosi's a disaster, okay? Even doing a thing like that with her crazy, but what she wants to do is get involved with the voting. She just got back to Washington. Everyone said, what was so long? She just got back here. So let's just see how it all works out. But I think we're going to have a great election. I'm getting really good poll numbers. For the most part, they're not being shown. And I saw Joe Biden on television yesterday. And if you watch him, he knows nothing. He knows absolutely nothing.
That's pretty much, that's all Trump's line really has to be about Biden. I mean, this guy really is a know-nothing. I mean, he is in the ultimate empty suit. Just a lot of bluster, a lot of, the first two lines of the executive summary. That's what this guy gives you all the time, this thing, and, we need to do things and come together in America and the people and the blah, blah, blah. It's just all silliness. But MSNBC thinks that Biden's just great. Play 16.
The president and his people sit around saying, Joe Biden's in his basement. I'll tell you, I don't recommend you do this. But if you watch Trump TV, their YouTube channel, they have an hour every night on Trump TV right now. It's reaching a lot of people. Go spend some time and watch it. McConnell was on there the other night with Laura Trump. That's where he made this news where he attacked Obama. If you watch that channel and see what the messages they're driving about Joe Biden, it's he's in his basement, he's old, he's infirm, he's Sleepy Joe, he might be senile. It's over and over and over again. They're hammering this stuff. And you think about that message, and then you look at what's happening in the polls. Joe Biden's sitting in his basement, according to Donald Trump, and still beating him on almost every metric that counts in terms of the data right now. Now, that does not mean that Donald Trump can't win this election. He can win this election. But
okay, we get it.
Right now,
this is what I think is fascinating. We all know that the Democrats and Republicans, you could put any candidate forward and it would be a close race. I mean, you could actually put forward a candidate who all we knew about him, his name is Bob, and he's a guy, and he's running for president as a Democrat. And you get 49% of the country to vote for this random imbecile. So Joe Biden just happens to be the random imbecile here.